Mr. Beast just made over 100 different sources of fresh drinking water in Africa in his latest video. Mr. Beast just made 100 fountains, of which people can now drink clean groundwater that didn't have access to it before. Mr. Beast just made 100 new waterheads that can now be reserved and provided so people can stop drinking out of local filthy rivers? Well, well, well.
That's a lot of nuts!
Now listen, I understand we talk about Mr. Beast a lot on this channel, but this channel's about internet news and what people are talking about, and most of the time, it's Mr. Beast. Surprisingly though, this time isn't actually me just hating on him for no apparent reason. I mean, I still think his haircut is stupid, but it doesn't have anything to do with his latest video, which, like I said, he said has been in 8 months of production because there's a lot of moving parts when you go to Africa and build 100 wells so that people who previously didn't have access to clean drinking water now do. It's not a lot you can hate about that, right, Yahoo News? Thankfully, there isn't too much precursory knowledge that you need to know to understand this story, because like most of Mr. Beast's videos, the title kinda is the entire video. It does what it says on the tin. If the title says he built 100 wells in Africa, he built 100 wells in Africa. It's half the reason I don't even watch his videos half the time, because I see the thumbnail and I'm like, okay, got what I wanted out of that. But this video is a little bit more insightful, a little bit attention-grabbing compared to the rest of his content, in my opinion. See, I truly appreciate the way that Jimmy not only built 100 wells in Africa, and maybe also gave away some Teslas to some, you know, local villagers or whatever it is that he did, but he actually managed to showcase some of the everyday lives and the struggles that these people in these villages, how far they had to walk to access water that isn't even clean, and then had to drag it back, all just to be able to go to a day of school. Being able to shed some insight into the lives of people on the other side of the world through what you're doing is a big reason that I appreciate people like Anthony Bourdain, who was able to teach me so much about so many different cultures overseas, even if the premise of his show at its core was just, hey, I'm gonna eat some food. That's high praise coming from me. On top of showcasing the, you know, ridiculously large machines that they had to wheel in, how deep into the ground that they had to drill in order to make these aquifers and wells, and the reservation towers that they made so that they could store the water that they could now pump up, Jimmy also highlighted just how easy it was for him. Not necessarily the fact that it didn't cost a ton of money, because it definitely probably cost a ton of money. I haven't looked in his books or anything, but he didn't need any government intervention, or he didn't need to access anything that wasn't available to him. He had money, he went out and found some people who build wells, and then he built some wells. And this is where Jimmy is facing some criticism, which is a weird thing to say. Like, I understand you could talk about his exploitative nature when it comes to putting people on camera when he's just giving money to homeless people or something, but I think most reasonably thinking people can look at this and go, this is an objectively solid bro move by Mr. Jimmy Beast, you would think. While American YouTuber Mr. Beast's goal was to provide clean drinking water for 500,000 people, activists say his action shamed the Kenyan government and helped perpetuate the stereotype that Africa is, quote, dependent on handouts. This is the title of an article that was tweeted and written by Yahoo News. And like most things written about Mr. Beast, it's very clearly hyper clickbait. It only exists to get you to click on it, and has very little to stand on from what people on Twitter have been dunking on so far. According to the most popular community note, the two people that are deriding Mr. Beast, and I don't really know, I thought it said dick riding, and I'm not sure what deriding means because the internet is poisoned by mine, but one of them is a Kenyan politician who obviously probably looks bad that some random white guy from America just did more in one video than he's been able to accomplish in whatever amount of time, and some woman who founded I don't know what a 501c3 is, but evidently she started some sort of foundation to try and raise money for Kenya, and has instead just taken more than half of the money that has been raised for that for her own organization. I read the entirety of the Yahoo article, which I know is shocking to long-term viewers of this channel, but I want to know if there was any merit to what these two individuals that were cited in the article were saying. The Kenyan politician situation is basically what I had summarized before. The politicians of Kenya, or one specific politician of Kenya, feels bad that Mr. Beast is painting the issue of not having clean drinking water in Kenya as something that can just be fixed with a ton of money. And I don't know if it's necessarily like a good thing that he's like demonizing or discouraging anybody who has large amounts of wealth from spending it on improving the lives of the less fortunate? Social justice YouTube and commentary YouTube, back when Mr. Beast made his video curing 100 people of their blindness, we're quick to point out that while this is like a band-aid fix to a bigger problem, the bigger problem is that government policies aren't being moved to be able to help people who have these vision impairments that seemingly can be fixed with nothing more than just money. And I guess the same situation is probably true when it comes to clean drinking water in Kenya. Sure, it's a band-aid fix to a bigger problem that maybe isn't being solved by the band-aid fix, but I don't think Mr. Beast has the power or the money to fix the overarching issue of infrastructure and clean water, situations in Kenya, or even blindness and healthcare in America, so fine. Sarah Kaba-Jones is the founder and the CEO of Face Africa and is the other big person that is interviewed in this Yahoo article. Face Africa, the organization, and this woman, Sarah Kaba-Jones, is the person who's being dunked on Twitter in this original tweet that people have sort of been mauling about. Pointing out the fact that of the $150,000 that was raised by this organization, $80,000 of it went back into the foundation's pocket. And that's kind of been the only point of discussion that people have been having on Twitter. According to the article, however, the reason that she's upset with Mr. Beast building these wells is basically because it's a bigger, more complicated situation than just a matter of building the wells. According to her, 60% of the wells that they work on in her organization have broken down due to a lack of maintenance or inability to build another well in a similar location, and as such, people go back to just drinking filthy water as they had been before the well was created. So her concern is that Mr. Beast, which she points out as a white male figure with a huge platform, kind of like sneak dissing him in that regard, comes to Africa, builds all these wells, soaks up all this clout and attention, and makes it, instead of being like, hey, we need to provide more money, it's like, hey, look how easy it was for me to fix this problem. When in reality, or at least according to her, maybe it doesn't do as much as it might seem to, because, according to her, in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, if there isn't infrastructure put in place to maintain these wells, they may end up breaking down, may end up polluted, may end up in a situation where they don't provide clean drinking water for the hundreds of years that's sort of estimated as far as like how much water is in a well. If the well itself breaks down and nobody's there to fix it, it sounds like it might be a situation of like giving a man a fish versus teaching a man to fish, and that's where the issue is. I suppose the biggest issue with what Mr. Beast did was the fact that he did sort of point towards how, like his laid-back attitude towards how easy it was to sort of fix the problem. He made a point in his video that if it was this easy for him to just build this well with nothing but his own cash, how hard could it be to continue to do this? Basically taking, like subtly saying like the government could totally do this if they wanted to, when in reality the problem is the government's inability or unwillingness to provide and maintain these wells. And he didn't technically do anything to fix that overarching issue. And it's only because he sort of opened the gates to the discussion of why isn't this being done by the government that he's being met with this criticism that, as stupid as it sounds, I guess does have the tiniest bit of validity because there is a lot more to this problem. But moral of the story is, when it comes to the internet, you're not going to win no matter how good of a deed that you do. My opinion, could they not just have gotten Brita filters? Like, do Brita filters not just work in Africa? Or like, transition! A bunch of NFT bros went blind at an annual NFT party? Just when you thought I wouldn't leave you with a happy note at the end of this video? The Bored Ape Yacht Club, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with as the company that generated and started the entire trend of those NFT procedurally generated monkey profile pictures that you see all over the internet with crypto bros shilling how much they paid, the several $1 million monkey profile pictures. It's this company, right? Every year, evidently, they hold a sort of convention for owners and to raise awareness of their projects and their roadmaps called Ape Fest. You might remember the one from last year because it's the one that was announced with Eminem and Snoop Dogg coming out with their Eminem and Snoop Dogg NFTs, and of course the one before that with Jimmy Fallon being seen taking pictures. Anyway, it's a thing that they do every year. This year, it was in Hong Kong, and as you can see from the pictures over my shoulders, it looked pretty nice. People were playing Counter-Strike, they had these blue lights. I'm sure there's nothing ominous about these blue lights. Almost immediately, the day after the first day at Ape Fest, several users on Twitter went online and talked about how their eyes were burning. Basically, they were like, is anybody else's skin on fire? Is anybody else witnessing temporary blindness? And I think it's hilarious because you can see all these people replying to each other like, oh yeah, my eyes burn too. What's up with this? But everybody's got a monkey NFT profile picture, so it's just like a bunch of apes in a room going, oh, 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 oh. According to one user on Twitter who seems to know what he's talking about, the reason for this is probably because they were using UVC germicidal lamps as black lights. According to Wikipedia, UVC germicidal lamps produce UVC light, and this is the sort of light that they use to like disinfect medical equipment. It's not something you're supposed to be staring at for hours at a time, as opposed to black lights, which according to YouTube is a pop-punk German band from the 1960s and doesn't cause temporary blindness. And because they decided to use this, and this is backed up by the fact that like apparently there was another convention in Hong Kong where this was taking place, where they also had a similar incident, so I guess they must have gone with like the same company to provide the lights, but instead it just made everybody blind because they weren't the lights that you're supposed to use. Or maybe they just spent all day looking at stupid fucking monkey pictures and that's why their eyes went bad, you know? Who knows? The Bored Ape Yacht Club Twitter account was quick to respond to these issues, saying that they had been reaching out to the individuals that were affected, and they believe that it has affected less than 1% of the attendees, which, you know, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound like that many people went temporarily blind and had to be hospitalized because their skin was burning and what have you. Plenty of people were responding to this tweet with memes of their own, such as this individual who fixed the post to make it look as if you had attended Ape Fest, and I think it's just great. I've been a loyal community member for over 2 years. My ape is not only the most expensive thing I own, but it is one of the only things I own. I had my parents give me a loan so that I could attend Ape Fest, and now I am drowning in eye-related medical bills and I don't know how to pay. Is it fun to laugh at people who went blind because they bought NFTs? Yes. But also, what are you guys even worried about? Don't you know blindness isn't real? Just talk to Mr. Beast. He can cure it immediately, I think.
Next meme.
The Rockstar Twitter account has announced that in the first week of December, they will be releasing the trailer for what they said is the next Grand Theft Auto game. I'm pretty sure it's Grand Theft Auto 6. Everybody else's images on Twitter has been talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't think they used those exact words. Maybe it's just because of a different subtitle. I'm hoping they don't go full Diablo and make a Grand Theft Auto mobile game. But it's a trailer for the games. I'm still thinking if they're releasing it in December, we might not see it for like another 10 years. At least as far as Rockstar is concerned, I'm not holding my breath for this to come out anytime soon. It's been like 10 years as it is, so it's not like I'm not used to waiting. The more interesting thing that I feel like nobody's talking about, Shrek 5 was leaked? Apparently one of the producers or writers or voice actresses on LinkedIn added Shrek 5 as one of their ongoing projects before very quickly deleting said post saying that they were working on Shrek 5. I believe that's going to come out before GTA 6. I'll put money on it. Not that much money, because my entire livelihood is based on the donations I get from Patreon. Shout out to the names that are scrolling in the back, by the way. If you don't want to miss my internet-related updates or whatever it is I do here, remember to subscribe, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys when GTA 6 comes out. Peace!